And back with Carol Rosin. Carol, did Wernher von Braun take things with him to the other side, or did he unload most of his innermost secrets to you and others perhaps close to him? And I speak about a number of things, not the least of which are the continuing extraordinary stories and accounts of alleged German flying saucer technology of World War II vintage.
Yeah, unfortunately, he took a lot of that with him and talked to me between the lines about it because of the threats to him and his family. And for those of us who have been in the industry, and I, for one, have been threatened too many times, even starting with my talking about the MX missile. When I worked on the MX as a strategist at TRW, and I was in Vienna, Austria, of all places, at the second special session of the Peaceful Use of Outer Space, and I was threatened by agents to not talk about the MX, so I was a nobody, so you can imagine what Wernher von Braun must have been under.
Right.
But it was very clear that he knew that there were off-planet cultures, that he had seen bodies, that it was the most important issue of our time and would become even more important in the countless amount of times that he said to me, the last card they're holding is the extraterrestrial card and it's all a lie. And they're going to make the off-planet cultures the enemy and it's all a lie.
Just like Hollywood.
How many times he said that? Oh, for sure. And it was the most horrible part of my relationship with him because at the time, I kind of sloughed it off. I was young. I didn't quite know what that meant. But I knew because he cried every time he said it, and my heart would melt. I would have a meltdown right in front of him. He cried every time he said it. His eyes filled up with tears because he could see that that was going to be the ultimate phase of the war machine that probably would do all of us in. And so he talked about the psychotronic weapons that came out of or would come out of the off-planet culture issue. And I think these were parts of him that he was bursting to tell people. This was the most secretive part of him. The rest of his story he pretty much went public with.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was twisted and spun in different people's books. But the real story that I thought, went to his grave with was this one. And it was too sad because he could see that the solutions are in the landing of the off-planet cultures. And so these are kind of conversations that we had between the lines. And he would talk to me about how important the media was, because if you didn't reach the media, people didn't have a chance of getting educated. And he would talk about, at the time, that we didn't have these websites and things for the people, but it was starting to emerge. And that we should all be writing in publications and newsletters, writing books and articles, and that we should have spokespeople. He was always saying that he felt like he was the only spokesperson that was really talking about space, but between the lines, how really important it was to be connected to the entities who were like us, but from other cultures off the planet. And he would talk about how we needed celebrities to be involved and columnists, and we should be writing press releases. He was quite media savvy because he was so public, and he loved the media. He loved to be able to get out and get publicity. It was just something and by the way, he and Timothy Leary had this in common. Timothy would say his most favorite thing in the world was PR, publicity. And von Braun kind of felt that way too. He loved to give speeches and meet people in audiences, and he loved to go to the local communities and thought that they should really be more involved in the space issues. And how do you get them involved in that? Well, he was such a great educator that he would just go and talk to anyone about space. If they stopped him on the street and he was in pain with his cancer, he would still be talking. He loved the youth projects, and he wanted youth-produced media to emerge. And he wanted to get different areas of interest involved because he felt that there were solutions to all problems on the planet. In some way, you could find a solution related to our evolution into space. He loved networking about this kind of subject. And so, he loved to get on the radio and do TV and all kinds of things like that. But he always kept this secret. He never would talk about it, and I understand because I, in your show, am only just beginning to, and I feel very comfortable with it, mainly because my friend Shoshana told me how wonderful you are.
Oh.
And I just thought, well, you know, if we don't all start telling the truth now and getting it into the schools and up to the university level and producing documentaries of a different nature
right.
that include this left-out subject area of, you know, exopolitics, as Alfred Weber talks about in his book, you know,
right.
politics, government, law in the universe, universal laws and principles, that kind of thing. Von Braun would talk about this all the time. But still, between the lines was this secret that I always felt like he wanted to tell me, but he couldn't. And then it wasn't until Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project, on which I was a witness with Von Braun's statements and met these high-level military, intelligence, government, corporate people who were so courageously going public at the National Press Club about their experiences with real craft. All of them had made the agreement not to talk about their meetings with or live extraterrestrial contact. The only one who did betray that was Clifford Stone, who's so wonderful. And so I knew that...
Now, that's interesting, fascinating, Carol. Hold on, please. And first of all, again, we should thank Shoshana Allison for all of her incredible service to this program and to the truth. And she's one of a kind, and we're very much indebted to her. We'll be back with Carol Rosin in just a couple